one. Welcome back. It's the Run and Shoot podcast, episode number 15. I'm Ryan. I'm joined by Chuck. Chuck, how's it going?
It's going pretty good, man. Just glad to be back on. Now people can actually get a face to our voices now that as we're talking.
Scary, right?
Yeah, I mean, look at me. I mean, I'm wearing my Godzilla t-shirt, my bandana. I'm just rocking my UT Titans colors proudly, especially the Titans colors, as they had a heck of a ball game Tuesday night.
Wrestling belts hanging all over, and they absolutely did. They absolutely did. Exceeded a lot of experts' expectations, I think.
Yeah, so you said this is number 15?
Episode number 15. Episode number Tim Tebow.
Oh, come on, man.
Maybe one of the greatest college football players of all time. Left a sour taste in a lot of UT fans' mouth, I would imagine. When it comes to the number 15, that would probably be my favorite athlete that wore that number. Who does it bring to mind for you?
Number 15, as a Titans fan, it brings to me Greg Hendrick. He was one of the best punters probably ever had. As of right now, we've got a great punter in Brett Kern, but I feel like for the most part, he was one of the greats. He was with the McNairs. I think he was drafted in 93, and he went on to play all the way to like 2008, 2009. But he was one of the few, that stuck it through the end, man. He was one of the greats in my eyes.
Yeah, Craig Kendrick, awesome. He was a pro all the way through, and they say maybe one of the greatest golfers to ever put on a Titans uniform. A lot of those guys on the special team will say you took him out on the links, he was going to take your money.
Well, that's interesting. Another 15, as of right now, he's a pretty hot guy right now. That would be Patrick Mahomes. That'd be
He's playing pretty good, coming off a loss to the Raiders.
Yeah, that's good for us. That makes us like one of the two only undefeated teams in the NFL right now with the Pittsburgh Steelers, which that matchup later this year is coming on. I can't wait.
Getting better and better.
It's getting better all the time. But let's talk about that Titans game for a minute. Wow, what a performance. What a stellar. I mean,
it's fresh on the mind, right? Especially for pretty much everybody. Tuesday Night Football, I don't know when the last – is it the first time that's ever happened?
Second time in 70 years. That's a long time. Yes.
And first of our lifetimes, and most everybody probably listened to this. But, yeah, it was cool, man. I mean, it was excellent to have football all the way through. The thing is, all the way up until Tuesday morning, we didn't even know if we were going to get to play that game. So it's like I'm just praying. We had a couple days, 2 days where we had no cases. Things were looking up. Then, of course, we had a couple more positives. I got a little worried, but then another couple of days of not having any positives, we got ourselves a Tuesday Night Football game. And I tell you, one guy who wishes that we were still waiting on that game, probably Mr. Josh Norman.
Yeah, as the last time I found out, I heard they got ghost hunters in Nashville because they're still looking for his soul right now. I mean, I think he just
went flying by my window.
Oh, man, better call him up, man. Or actually call Derrick Henry. He can probably retrieve his soul and put it back in his body. But, obviously that is the play that everybody is talking about. The meanest stiff armor in the game today. And
as the greatest 5-yard run of all time.
That's what I think Mike Vrabel said. So that was awesome. But you got to give other credit where credit is due. Malcolm Butler, we were shorthanded in the secondary. 2 gigantic interceptions to get us in not only 2 picks, but he did them getting us in Buffalo territory to get us in scoring position. So that's one cat we need to holler at. And then of course, Tannehill. What a performance. I mean, 4 touchdowns, 3 in the air, 1 on the ground. I thought for a minute there when he did his little celebration, I thought he hurt himself. That kind of scared me a little bit.
You know what I thought at first? You're talking about where we did the flip?
He did the little flip. He just like,
I wondered if he crossed the goal line first because I was like, please tell me he crossed the goal, and then he had. But it was pretty close.
No, it's just when he fell down, I was like, oh, he's busted a knee. It's over. But he didn't. Got back up.
Not the most
he got back up.
Celebration.
Well, man, it had me nervous. But I think for the most part, I think everybody came out firing all cylinders. I think the biggest thing, everybody had a chip on their shoulder. As you know, the nation, the league, every rider, Paul Koharski, you bastard, just
He got
just
a lot
everybody.
of hate this week.
Just got a lot of hate, got a lot of heat, and I just think they just took it and just showed, hey, we don't need practice. Practice? We're talking about practice, yo.
For sure, and the Titans had I think they got approved last minute for a practice the day before, towards that evening. And I know Paul Kaharski was getting angry from what I could see on Twitter that nobody notified him. Right? Why wouldn't the Titans notify me that they were having a late practice that the NFL approved? Maybe you start reporting things a little more on their side. Now, I know as a reporter, you want to try to be as transparent as possible and not lean to one side or the other, but you are the Titans beat writer. He's not working for ESPN anymore, right?
No, he's not.
He makes a lot of his money off of that organization.
Well, it's just the pictures he took the pictures were so blurred, you couldn't hardly tell. I mean, there could have been Vanderbilt college football players, for all we know, practicing, or Tennessee State football players practicing, but it's ridiculous. I was just so over it. I mean, I was livid. I blew up Twitter. I still come after him. I mean,
I saw you.
It's just absolutely. And then he's on Twitter Tuesday night. What a game for the Titans. They played great. And I was like, and like you care, when things are great, they're great. But when they're bad, you turn your back against us and do that stuff right there. But like you said,
he instantly branded his own, like Derrick Henry stiff arm T-shirt. Man, you know what? Make your money where you can. I'm not buying one of those.
I'm not buying it. I mean,
now Hang 10, I'll order the next thing they got. I see they've got some designs coming out. Some pretty cool things. I've already got a couple of the Derrick Henry T-shirts. And you know what? I just love having the greatest running back in the NFL on my team right now, and I will argue that point with just about anybody.
Well, I think at this point that a lot of people did take recognition, not only how well they played, how they dominated a very good Bills team. So credit where credit is due, I guess. I mean, we're finally getting the recognition. We're not only a mediocre team with a great running back, but we've got other position players that are really picking up the slack. I mean, sky's the limit where we got to go to. So, Ryan.
Right. Now, a lot of Bills fans, too, a lot of excuses. A lot of excuses coming out. We shouldn't have had to wait this long to play this game. The Titans should have forfeited.
Forget about it.
Tons of excuses coming out of the Bills camp. The referees blew this game.
Forget about it. There was no chance. To me, the tipping point of that game, to me, was – everybody's saying, oh, the stiff arm set the tone. Not really. I mean, they came back and answered. It was probably about in the third quarter. I think we're up 21-10, but they're driving. Malcolm Butler makes that interception. Not only gets the interception, returns it almost all the way to the 20, 30-yard line of the Bills. To me, that just broke their back. And that was it.
Huge.
To me, I knew right away. I was like, I think that got us the game. And but what a performance. I'm really tickled. But let's talk about some opening drive a little bit, Ryan.
Let's hit that opening drive.
The NBA news, as you know, the Lakers locked it up. So with that being said, LeBron gets his fourth ring. He also got Finals MVP, and does to his legacy. Like he says, he commands respect now. To me, he was already a well-respected athlete to begin with, though, Ryan. I mean,
maybe you see some guys, and like most beats, I saw he went online instantly to share his reaction like anybody cares. You might remember Maurice. He played for the Grizzlies for a little while. He moved around the league. He was with Golden State and kind of piggybacked on those guys back to a couple rings there too. But he chimed in and he was like, wow, 4 out of 10. Who would brag about that? But look, man, and this is coming from a guy who's currently playing overseas. Right. But
absolutely.
LeBron absolutely demands respect. I respected him prior. There's a lot of folks out there that still hate on him, that still refuse to give the man the respects that he deserves. Look, I don't care one bit for his political opinions or anything else that he's been pushing along the way. And some of that stuff's hurt the finals. The lowest viewership, I believe, in finals history. And that's coming at a time where pretty captive audience.
It is, but I think it's a little mixture of both. When you talk about the ratings, Ryan, I mean, like you're doing this in the middle of football season, and everybody's kind of turned off basketball and switched over to football because fall is football time of the year. But at the same time, the political views, the social injustice stance, I think has somewhat hurt the ratings. I mean, people when I watch sports, Ryan, and I've got nothing against the social injustice. I mean, you have your opinion. It's second. I mean,
Well,
you
we
have
have stuff against social injustice, but
right.
we don't have anything against standing up to social injustice.
Exactly. It's just, but to me, when I watch sports, Ryan, I turn off that what's going on out there in the world, and I just want to watch sports. And that's what you're going to get with a lot. That's what you're going to get with a lot of fans. They don't want to see, all these writings on the back of jerseys or the back of helmets or whatever. They just want to go and watch sports, just like me. I want to watch sports.
It's an escape, man. We all work
hard. It's
an
escape.
40 plus hours, especially I know for you going on right now. When we get that little bit of free time where we're not spending it with our families, where we're not working and having to do everything else that life involves, and we get to sit down and enjoy that time. It's precious.
It is precious. And I ain't got time for the political stuff, man. I can't fit it into my schedule. You know what I'm saying?
You got enough of a platform when you're in one of those leagues. You don't necessarily have to, either wear it on the back of your jersey or have it printed on the floor or whatever. Now, again, it doesn't bother me at all. I still watch just about every bit of it, but I can't understand why the ratings would be down.
Well, it's just a lot of crazy things out there. People, like I said, I think football plays a big part of it because you got college and you got NFL back. And to me, for sure, the true sports fans, fall time of the year is either MLB baseball playoffs or the beginning or the regular season of college and NFL. So
football is king.
It is. Football is king. Football is the absolute dominator of all sports. That's the money. That's the cash cow of all American sports. That and baseball, in my eyes. But did you hear about Tyronn Lue got hired by the Las Vegas Clips?
Yeah, a couple of Chuckisms, and I think it's the Los Angeles Clips. They've not moved to Vegas yet. Tyronn Lue.
Man.
But yeah, I did see that. I did see that today. It's better than him going to the Sixers because, they rumored that. And I'm like, there's no way after what Allen Iverson did to Tyronn Lue. A lot of people, when they heard that name before he got that Cleveland job, that's the first thing that comes to mind, right? AI stepping over him.
Yeah.
There's no way he could have went to Philly and made that happen. So maybe this is a good fit for him. I don't know. Is he an upgrade over Doc Rivers? I don't think so.
Negative. I don't think he is. I think this was a lame hire, to be honest with you. Nothing against the guy. It's just with the star talent that you have, you need a good stern coach. And to me, Lue's not that stern coach. I think he's a coattail coach that rides a coattail.
Maybe I'm not giving him enough credit, but I thought he was kind of the buddy guy that LeBron wanted to have that job in Cleveland, and that's how he got that job. But maybe I'm wrong.
We'll see. But Lue comes into a very fine situation. He's got two stars in George and Leonard. Two guys right there, and then you got a good bench. So I think it's at this point, just don't mess it up. Just don't mess it up. But let's switch over to some MLB action going on. I think the Braves and the Dodgers are actually playing out right now. What was the score last time before?
What we got? That game right now, 7-1 Braves. Atlanta leading that series 2-1. Of course, the bats got hot early. Acuna's already got 2 hits as well as got in. But yeah, things opened up so far for the Braves in this one. After coming off of that last game, as far as where they gave up so many runs in the first inning, they lost that game to the Dodgers 15-3.
I think it was 11 in the first inning. Dodgers had to do something. I don't know if it was the pitcher of the Braves or the bats that say, hey, we got to make a statement and let them know that we got to make this a series. But this series is going to be pivotal. And right now the Braves could be closing this series really quick if they get this game won tonight. But they got to close the deal.
If they close it out tonight, then the next game is an elimination game as far as that goes. And again, up 7-1 right now, things are looking good. But as we can see, both of these teams can turn those bats on at any given time. The Braves pitching staff has looked tremendous throughout the postseason other than last night's performance. Regardless, we also had in the Rays-Astros game today, Correa hit that walk-off to keep them alive in that series. So Tampa Bay leading that 3-2. So still the verge of elimination for the Astros, but they're back in it. We at least are going to see a game 6 in that series. The Atlanta Dodgers game could go a little bit further. We're going to see. I think the Braves gave them the 1 inning just to look back on this series and not have a totally negative connotation in their mind. I think the Braves are going to finish things out. We're going to see. Again, 7-1 right now. It's still early. We'll see.
Now,
baseball's crazy.
Baseball is crazy. I mean, what inning is it in right now?
Currently in, let me pull that right back up. We are in the 7th inning.
And it's not, I mean, you got 2 full innings to go. I mean, they can get back in it real quick, especially with the bats they got down in L.A. Absolutely.
You're going to need to get those rally caps on for sure.
Absolutely. But, Ryan, I got a question to ask you. What team would you want to face if the Braves do go on? What team do you want to face? Do you want to face the Houston Astros or the Tampa Bay Rays? Which one would be
I don't want to see the Astros
opponent?
advance any further. I would love to see the Astros get pummeled by the Braves, but I'd also just not like to see them even advance to the World Series. I think they should have had titles stripped. I think they even could have had a postseason ban this season. Not to say that, I don't care one bit for my team to face them. Now, they're playing well. They're still in this. They're getting things done. Maybe they found a new way to cheat to get to where they are that we haven't discovered yet. We're going to find that out,
Absolutely.
But I think I would rather see Tampa Bay go and see Atlanta take those guys down too. And just for the Tampa Bay fans too, why not? I don't think any baseball fan wants to see the Houston Astros win another game.
Absolutely, but I think a lot of fans want to see the Dodgers and Houston rematch so the Dodgers can pummel the Houston Astros to kind of give them a little payback. So, I mean, there's that, but I don't think that's going to happen. I think the Braves, if they cap it tonight, has a pretty like a 80-90% chance to close this series out.
I think that would be the most dull matchup we could get out of this is if we had Dodgers-Astros again. We know that the Dodgers are great at blowing it when they get to the World Series, and we know the Astros are great at cheating, and we don't want to see either one of those teams win as far as from an Atlanta Braves perspective. I think this is the Braves' year. I say that as we speak. Again, 7-1 in Game 4, but
so you got the chokers and the cheaters. If it happens, the chokers and the cheaters.
Chop on, baby.
Right now, they're chomping on right now and fixing to take that series. But let's talk about college football over the weekend, especially in the SEC. I want to start with the Auburn-Arkansas game. I think Arkansas got hosed. I mean, did you see the play that Bo Nix did right at the end?
I saw the clip there. Break it down for us.
All right, what happened was it was a hurry up, trying to stop the clock. I think it was in the closing seconds of the game. Bo Nix goes under center, and they were going to spike it, fumbles the ball, picks it back up, and throws a backwards spike. In ruling in football, if you throw the ball backwards, it's a fumble. So that's what Arkansas was pleading. They even reviewed it and still called it the play stands. So that was totally hosed. And what happened after that? Auburn, like a play or two later, kicks a field goal, wins the game, ends Arkansas's upset bid. And that was one of my upsets right there. I got robbed on an upset right there.
Well, so we have so many ways of reviewing plays and changing rulings and everything else. How do we still get that stuff wrong?
I just don't get it. I mean, it has to be overwhelming evidence to overturn it. And to me, it was there. That was a backwards pass.
Right? I don't still some of those gray areas that you can't get out of, it seems like. For example, when the whistle blows as far as the play's dead, there's no challenging certain things like that. And there's just loopholes still in the rules that I think need to be patched up a little bit. Because if we're going to be reviewing these things, we need to be able to fix them.
Exactly. The next game was Mississippi State had a chance to rebound, had a horrible game. It was a sloppy, rainy game. Kentucky had 6 interceptions. The final score of that game was UK 24, Mississippi State 2. It's unusual. So, I mean, going back 2 weeks ago, we thought Mississippi State was the hottest thing walking. And now the last 2 weeks against Arkansas and Kentucky, who they should have beat, are back to square one where they was years past right now.
Does it say more about Mississippi State or more about Kentucky? I think it does Mississippi State because that offense got shut down. But as far as when you look at Kentucky, Falls playing Kentucky next week. Does it worry you at all?
It kind of does. I'll get into it here in a little bit when we talk about our predictions and stuff. But the border war is always a fun game. I always enjoy it because most of the time we beat them up pretty good. But Ole Miss came rolling into Tuscaloosa, and Lane Train hung 48 against Bama, but Bama turned around, scored 63. So
Saban was fired up on that
sideline.
His defensive coordinator heard it.
He was going to rip somebody. He wanted to tear. Where was Butch Jones? I think he would have tore him limb for limb if he was on that sideline with him. But to me, I feel like Lane Kiffin is taking this team that does not have a lot of talent, compared to a lot of the SEC contenders, but he's turning them in and he's making them compete. So it makes you wonder when he gets talent in there, what Ole Miss is going to be.
Well, that's what I've been saying, too. He inherits a little bit of talent, but the thing we've seen, too, Lane Kiffin's good at recruiting for his offense, too. So once he gets a couple recruiting classes in there, sky's the limit for that team potentially. Because in the SEC, you pretty much have a built-in that you're going to be able to recruit a certain class of defensive players a whole lot better and a whole lot more of those players than you will in the Pac-12 or the Big 12 or any of these other conferences out there.
Exactly right. And I think in time we'll see Lane Kiffin, maybe not next year, maybe in the middle of next year, we'll start seeing a lot of improvements from this team. But right now, he's got him competing. I mean, he hung 48 against Bama, and that's saying something. I don't care what kind of defense Bama has. Bama never hardly gets any points scored on them, especially 48 like that. So kudos to Kiffin. And I cannot believe I'm saying that. Just cannot believe I'm saying that. But but the Carolina went to Nashville and played the Doors, and they pretty much – no, that was not even a game worth watching, but it did give Muschamp his first SEC win. And the final score was 41-7. So, Ryan, any thoughts on that? I don't really got no thoughts on it. Kudos to
first SEC win of the season, I guess. But yeah, you know, it's going to be a gauntlet with the SEC all the way around, man. As far as 10 SEC games, it's very exciting. It's a daunting task to think of one of those teams escaping undefeated. But, yeah, I mean, you saw what South Carolina has. You see them pull out the victory here. Not a whole lot exciting there. Let's move on to the next matchup.
The next matchup is Mizzou and LSU, the Battle of the Tigers. So, Mizzou came out and beat them 45-41. So, I mean, it's just how leaky is this LSU defense? It's super leaky, man. I mean,
a lot of turnover from last year, and we knew that was going to be the case. But
to
absolutely.
this extent, though,
I wouldn't have foresaw that. Absolutely not.
No, I mean, you gave up so much against Mississippi State, and now you gave up to a pathetic Missouri team. It's not looking good.
Not a good look, right? How much
turnover you got there. Now you got A&M, Texas A&M, the second upset of the week, exposes a leaky Gator defense. Even though you had Trask that had a great game, another one, had over 300, almost 300 yards, 4 touchdowns. But
he looked good, man. Mond came out there. I think it says more so for the running game of Texas A&M. Those guys, look, watching that game, it was tough, man. There was very little defense played on either side of the ball. But you know what? I think maybe we underestimated what Texas A&M brings to the table from a talent perspective because I thought this Florida defense was a lot better than this.
Well, I mean, this was huge for Texas A&M, as you know. I mean, they got pummeled by Bama the week before, and it was almost like they're dead in the water at this point. But no, they needed this win to keep them in the SEC West hunt and to probably keep them in the rankings, because if they would have got beat, they would have probably been dropped, and Jimbo probably would have been in a hot seat by now.
What did you think about the Spiller kid? 174 yards on the ground with 2 touchdowns.
I mean, it goes to what I said. I mean, it just how leaky is this defense? I mean, it's a little concern. If I'm a Gator fan, I'm very concerned because you know the offense is going to score no matter what it's going to happen. But when you have a guy that you have, a Spiller having 174 yards, you had Mounds that had like almost 300 yards passing, 4 touchdowns. He had some rushing on the ground.
3 touchdowns, but he also threw 2 of those to that Chapman kid, 151 yards on 9 receptions there. So Look, defense for Florida did not show up in that game whatsoever. Now the crowd, right, was what 20%?
20%. So
20% of what? Because that place was packed. And then you saw the statements, come out from Mullen about wanting to pack the Swamp the next week, which ended up being a bad look because we come to find out, well, a couple of Florida players got COVID. So now that
19.
LSU Florida game pushed back. It's, they're going to have to contain that there. With the news we've had the last week or so, what I'm so concerned about is that we're seeing the beginning of the end for the football. But I'm remaining optimistic because hopefully we can contain all this stuff and keep this train rolling as far as, sports goes. But, man, look, I don't think we're going to be packing any stadiums anytime soon.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I'm with you. I mean, you got to do at least 10, 20%. Now I'll go switch over to the Tennessee and Georgia game because they look like they packed that stadium. They look like they did.
Agreed.
That didn't look 10, 20% to me. That didn't. But I'm not going to make an excuse because UT's guaranteed doom in the second half. I cannot believe I made that reference. But the first half he played absolutely perfect. He made the passes that we needed to make. Defense made the stops that we needed to make make it 21-17. But then after that, I think we just left that team in the locker room after that. It just, you're right. Just a complete nosedive and crash and burn. Garantano had 2 interceptions, 1 fumble, and sacked 3 times. Versus
not going to get it done.
It's not going to get it done, especially. But if I have to take a silver lining out of this, I think this was the best defense that we'll face all year. Absolutely, because I think Georgia's got, bar none, the best SEC defense this year.
Better than Alabama?
Absolutely. I think they're better than Alabama.
We saw Ole Miss do to them. But,
right.
We'll see. We'll see. I know, watching my social media feed, being here in Middle Tennessee, looked like the Vols had already won a championship before we got to halftime.
I was excited.
A lot of premature celebrations going on.
Well, I wasn't celebrating. I was just like,
not pointing any fingers. I saw across the board.
I know.
Guys, don't speak too soon. It's the Vols, and they're being led by your boy Garantano.
And he proved it. Second half, it was like Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde, and then Mr. Hyde decided to show up second half, and it was complete and utter disaster. I'm not going to say it was totally his fault, but I'm going to say 60% was his fault.
I'm going to try not to shit on him too much because I've done enough of that the last couple of weeks. Look,
I'm tired of it.
I don't know how he still has a job other than the fact that the guys behind him are not pushing hard enough for that job.
Or the coaches are blind. I don't know. Man. But let's talk some NFL, man. Ryan, I'm going to let you take the lead on this. Well, you got this, bud.
Little NFL action. Well, we've already hit on our Tuesday night matchup. We'll hit on it again. But if we just run through them, we'll start with Brady's brain fart. Thought they had another down. It did not work out as the Bears beat the Buccaneers. Chicago 20, Tampa Bay 19. Carolina, they won their 3rd in a row over this dysfunctional Atlanta team that fired their coach finally. Carolina 23, Atlanta 16. The LA Rams roll past the R words. Alex Smith was out there, and I was worried to death for him. I'm going to be honest. But the Rams won 30-10. Burrow, Cincy did not have fun this week as far as that whole bit up there with the Bengals. The Ravens slammed them. Baltimore 27, Cincinnati 3. The Steelers did remain unbeaten as Philly struggled. But this was a pretty good game for a little while. I'll be honest. I was entertained.
Claypool,
quite the emergence for him and the tight end. I can't even remember the tight end's name for Philly, but I know it wasn't Ertz that was leaping over everybody and catching all those balls as Pittsburgh won 38, Philly 29. The Cardinals got back to their winning ways as they rolled the winless Jets. Arizona won that one 30-10. Carr outdueled Mahomes, even though we were already hearing some clamoring for the backup there in Oakland. I think Carr has cemented that job at least for a couple more weeks.
Right.
The Raiders beat the Chiefs for the first time this year. Vegas 40, Kansas City 32. The Texans finally got a win in the year 2020 over the faltering Jags. Houston won that game 30-14. The Beard and the Dolphins gave the 49ers a beating this week as well. Miami 43, San Francisco 17. Cleveland stayed red hot over the Colts. Cleveland 32, Indianapolis 23. And, Phillip Rivers looked pretty terrible in that game. The boys got the win over the Giants, but lost the main boy on that team. Look, watching Dak Prescott go down with that injury, one of the hardest things I've had to do all year.
It was scary. All you can do is just feel bad for the guy. He's a wonderful individual, man. Just prayers up. Absolutely.
Prayers up, man. But yeah, they lose Dak to the gruesome injury. They end up winning with the Red Rifle. Dallas 37, the Giants 34. Then there was a fourth quarter decision from the Vikings, a pretty boneheaded decision that allowed the Hawks to potentially steal that win. Seattle 27, Minnesota 26. Russell Wilson getting it done again and just proving that, well, he's a magician.
Yeah.
Then the Chargers squandered another win as they let the Saints walk away victorious as New Orleans won 30-27 over the LA Chargers. And then my favorite part of this week when it comes to football, the Tuesday night football game we've already talked about, where King Henry tossed around the Bills like a bunch of rag dolls. Tennessee won that game 42-16 over Buffalo. Tennessee's handed out plenty of easy wins and plenty of games that, look, Titans should have probably won the last two seasons against the Bills.
Yeah, they should have.
For it, with that
Oh, this was so
Tannehill was excellent. Henry was excellent. Allen, at least in this game, not excellent. He picked a bad night to have a bad game, and the Titans took advantage of it.
They did. Fun fact, we scored in each of the 6 red zone visits we had. We scored all 6 touchdowns. Do you remember the last team that did that?
Who's that?
The 2007 undefeated New England Patriots.
That is some high praise without quite as much of the star power, but I'll take it.
Let's just hope that if we get that way, let's just make sure we finish the job and win the Super Bowl.
Yeah, I think any fan would rather just take that Super Bowl than going into the Super Bowl undefeated and losing, right? Look, I'm not worried about an undefeated season.
Oh, no.
I'm worried about those Super Bowl rings.
I'm worried about that ring. You know it. Other news in the NFL, as you know, the Atlanta fired Dan Quinn, and GM Tom Dimmerdoff, Robert Morris will be taking over as the head. Hakeem Morris, I think, is his name. It's Coach Morris. He used to be the defensive coordinator for the Falcons, and he used to be the head coach of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers back in the day.
Yep. Yeah, man. And I think he was the player's choice there too, Raheem Morris. And I think he'll do a fine job. I don't think that's a terrible football team when you look at the talent there.
No, it's not.
Got
That's
a lot of
thing.
holes, man. Defensively, that defense, it's just a defensive scheme thing, I guess, while they consistently get beat up. But there's been so many boneheaded calls from the head coach's perspective that if he can just stay out of your way, I think you can win a few more games there. With that being said, I respect Dan Quinn. I hate it for the guy because he's had some bad luck, but he's brought a lot of it on himself. He's going to land on his feet, and I'm sure he'll land a nice defensive coordinator role somewhere, and the team's going to be very happy to hire him.
Right.
His time in Atlanta, though, he got way too long of a rope.
Yeah, he did, and I just feel like you said, the offense is stacked. It's got a great group of players, but that defense has got to get worked on. Another, also to keep in Atlanta, as you know, they shut down for COVID, so it'd be if you got fantasy players in for Atlanta, better be on the lookout just in case. For either team, absolutely. I forget who they play this week, but we'll talk about it more. Le'Veon Bell, as you know, was released by the New York Jets as expected. I mean, he was already had one foot out of town, I think, right at the beginning of the season.
Mm-hmm.
But to make matters worse, he goes to probably the worst team in the AFC to the best team in the AFC as far as talent goes. He goes to the Chiefs. So, I mean, if you got Clyde Edwards-Helaire on the backfield in fantasy, better get to trading. I know I am. I've got him in one of my leagues, and I was really bummed out. But it'd be interesting to see how it works out with the offense.
I mean, his touches aren't just going to evaporate. They're going to obviously spread them around to Le'Veon. But do you think they implement him immediately, or do you think he's a part of that game plan a little bit more gradually as we go? As my cat jumps into the picture here. I don't know, man. I don't think he's going to necessarily be that workload right off the bat, or your workhorse right off the bat, Le'Veon in Kansas City. Plus, if he is, an asshole in the locker room, and if he's causing issues here and there, Kansas City probably not going to put up with a lot of that crap, right?
No, I mean, that's the thing. He's expendable. I mean, like I said, they got Clyde Edwards-Helaire, who can get the job done when he wants to be. And also, as far as, like you say, as far as him playing, he's not going to play this week. According to the protocol rules, like they have these new rules for COVID, he's got to at least sit out 1 week. So with him coming to town, I think he's got to do all the testing and stuff, like the COVID testing coming from a big metropolitan area like New York. So when he comes to KC, he's got to sit out this week. And as far as him being in the scheme, I think he's a little bit behind. I mean, you go to a scheme like you have in New York versus Andy Reid's scheme in KC, that's very high complex offense. You got to learn. Will he pick it up? I think he will. Will he excel in that offense? Absolutely.
Yeah, if we look at it just simply, him going to that team, they did just get a lot better offensively. He can catch the ball to the backfield. He can run the ball. He's going to be a weapon at Patrick Mahomes' disposal. Andy Reid was just gifted Le'Veon Bell mid-season. They're really going to have to work on that defense. That's another story because you saw they got exposed this past week by Vegas. But, I mean, look, it's an upgrade. I don't know what the deal is with Le'Veon. He was giving Jamal Adams a bunch of shit because he took off and went to Seattle, demanded a trade. And then what does he do?
He
demanded a trade, right? They've been trying to trade him, and they've not been able to get any suitors. He goes to Kansas City. They're going to play the Jets here coming up soon, too. And like every other team in the league, they're probably going to beat the hell out of them. But, man, what are your final thoughts on Le'Veon Bell as far as his impact this season?
I see him making an impact maybe more towards the passing game because he's probably one of the better receiving backs. But I think it's going to be 50-50 split. It has to be. You can't just, make Clyde Edwards-Helaire vanish because he's been a pivotal part of that offense. He's had more time to learn that offense.
But so fantasy-wise, are you looking to trade him? You said he's on the trading block.
I'd trade him. I mean, if you can get a good deal for him, get him out of there. But I think as far as like being RB1, that's a threat now. You're going to see him probably go to RB2, even with Le'Veon Bell in the lineup. But as far as elite RB1, I think those days are past, homie.
Well, it was with Williams opting out that really gave him that RB1 status, too. So we're going to see.
It just ended a little bit earlier than expected, though. A lot of people put in a lot of high draft picks on him. Thought he was going to be it. But funny how the season works out. It's been a crazy 2020 year. And speaking of crazy, we've got some fantasy studs and duds. So, and the crazy thing about it is some of your studs you had last week some of them are my duds this week.
Man, that's the way fantasy football rolls sometimes, right?
So I'll go with duds. Yeah, I mean, you can't always have one guy dominate all the way through unless you're Patrick Mahomes or Derek Stephon Henry. And but I'll go ahead and start us out with our duds. I'm going to go with number 1, Jimmy Garoppolo. 77 yards, no touchdowns, 1, 2, 3 turnovers. And on top of that, gets benched. So the days of Jimmy G might be over, homie.
I don't know. They brought him out because the game was out of hand, too, I think. Right? Was it strictly performance?
I don't know, man. But, yeah, the game was pretty much over. But I think to a certain extent, I think the leash has just got a whole lot shorter and a whole lot tighter. So, I mean.
And they lost to the Dolphins. It's not a good look.
And not only they lost, they got bashed, homie. I mean, they pulled the Bills this week. Another one we just mentioned, Clyde Edwards-Helaire. He only had 80 total yards, no touchdowns. 80 yards, he still got points, but as far as being an RB1, that's not good enough numbers.
Yeah.
But on top of that, now you got Bell there. He's probably going to be a dud from here on in, man. Maybe this week he's probably got one more week for you to be good. But then when Bell starts coming in, who knows? We'll see.
He watered down that offense a little bit when you look at the overall because it's one more mouth to feed.
One more mouth to feed. And that's in fantasy, that's not a good thing to have. It's a lot of mouths to feed. You had Greg Kittle last week as your stud, correct?
Correct.
Yeah, he had like 15 catches, 185 yards last week. He laid a big one this week as far as like dud status. He had 4 catches, 44 yards, goose egg touchdowns. So far cry from being a stud last week to this week. So, but the 49ers this week as a whole, other than Mozart, who had almost 100 yards rushing, he was the only one that was worth, helping your fantasy team out. But Craig Kittle didn't do good this week. And Jimmy G getting benched, Breeland coming in, the quarterback shuffling doesn't help out the stats at all.
Not at all.
And another returner to the Chuck's Dud list here, Matt Ryan. He's back on the list.
He could be a permanent one.
He might be, man. I mean, and
permanent
it's a
fixture.
shame. He might be because Calvin Ridley had a rebound game, had over a 100-yard game, looked good. Julio Jones, of course, didn't. I think he was hurt again. But Matt Ryan had 266 yards, 2 turnovers, no score. That's not getting it done. Juju Smith-Schuster. As you know, we've been talking about Claypool a little bit. Had a hot 4-touchdown game. Where'd that lead Juju Smith-Schuster? I'll tell you where it left him. 4 catches, 28 yards, no score. To me, that's a disappointment because he's part of my team in my league with you and me in it. That's not getting it done, homie.
I have him on 2 teams too. The only problem, when you have a guy that's as good as him, the same with Julio Jones and some of these really dominant receivers, sometimes he's going to get that coverage that allows some of these other guys that we may not hear as much about to really go out there and eat. That's what happened for Claypool. That's what happened for a couple other guys on that squad. Juju, he kind of played the ugly role in this game. And, he's not the kind of guy I don't think that worries that much as long as they're getting wins.
Not.
For your fantasy team, that's not always exciting. But I think Juju Smith-Schuster, week in and week out, he's a must-start player.
He's not. He said there was reports saying he was ecstatic for Claypool having his big game. He's a team player. And but, I mean, I think he'll rebound. He'll be fine. But this week, he's a dud. Ryan, what about your studs this week? Who you got?
Studs, man, we're going to go right off the top. You can't leave Claypool out of that one, so we'll go ahead since we've already talked about him. You got to throw him in there. As far as just what he did this past week, just in like standard ESPN scoring, he had 42 points. That's tremendous. He led all scorers on ESPN. Along with that same route, let's go with Ryan Tannehill. I don't know how many teams started Ryan Tannehill this week. I think more this week definitely than would have a couple of weeks ago because he's been proving it a little bit. But Ryan Tannehill went out there and he got the job done when he had a lot of doubters, a lot of haters against the Titans here, and a lot of folks that really picked this Bills team to go in there and win because they've been on a roll, right? But when he went out there, got it done, 3 touchdowns, had the one on the ground too, had the little flip action going on. He looked good all throughout, and he was tremendous for your fantasy team because on this list, as far as ESPN, if you just sort it, number 3 in scoring, across the board.
That's getting it done.
Absolutely, man. And now Mahomes, he still put up numbers in a loss. I'm going to keep him on this list too because, look, I mean, it's no news. If you have Patrick Mahomes, he starts for your team unless he's on a bye week. Even if he's hurt, you're waiting all the way up until the point of that game. Like, is he going to play? Because you want to start Mahomes, especially in garbage time. That's probably the best Mahomes for your fantasy football team, right?
Right, absolutely.
Coming from behind as far as that goes. Also on that list, how about Fulgham, the Philadelphia wide receiver? I couldn't remember his name earlier, and I think I referred to him as a tight end, but he looks like a tight end. I don't know if he's like a hybrid.
He's a big boy. He's a big boy.
Awesome. And he came out of nowhere in this game. 10 receptions, 152 yards, and a touchdown. 31 points in ESPN leagues. Pretty tremendous. And I wonder how many players started him this week? Not many, right?
I didn't start him. That's all I'm saying.
And let's pull a guy from that duds list, and he's been on my shit list for a while because I have him on a number of teams. I believed in this guy going in, Brandon Cooks. So
Okay.
Brandon Cooks this week had a solid week, right? And he flirts around. Week 2, he had 14 points after a 4-point week 1, 6, 0, and then I'm like, I am not starting this bum again. And what does he do? ESPN Leagues, that's 30 fantasy points he put up this week, 8 receptions, 161 yards, and a touchdown. So Brandon Cooks, he's certainly not a must-start player, but he's showing that he can at least build a little rapport there with Deshaun. And I think people that believed in that combo, like myself, going into this season, you're going to see that pay off, I think, going forward. And I think he's a little bit safer to start. And look, let's be honest, depth is huge this year. You're going to have a number of players as far as that you can plug in and play, and you want to be able to trust some of them. I think Brandon Cooks is going to be a little bit better going forward.
Right.
And finish things off, let's throw Mike Davis in there because Mike Davis
PPR monster right there.
Dude, he's been thrust into it, and a lot of people, he may be the free agent pickup of the season so far, right? So he gets in there in his first start, puts up 22 points, 21 and 29 this past week, 16 attempts, 89 yards on the ground. But like you said, got it done receiving, right? 9 receptions this past week, 60 yards receiving with a touchdown. PPR machine probably swung a whole lot of matchups this week, right?
It did, but it makes you wonder, where do they go from here? Do they continually just keep McCaffrey out, even though they pull him out of IR?
He's sitting out one more week at least because he's eligible to come back. It's great. It's never a bad thing to have too many good players, but McCaffrey is McCaffrey, and let's not get crazy here, but that's a hell of a 1-2 punch.
Yeah, I mean, this Carolina team is hot. You get McCaffrey back with Mike Davis, that's 1-2 punch right there.
Man, looking pretty good. And when you put those guys on the field at the same time, things looking pretty. That offense is really good, man. Teddy T. is playing good. Robbie Anderson is finally playing for a team that's halfway decent with a good quarterback.
Absolutely. Let's talk about some free wire pickups. Chase Claypool. Man, we've seen like
he's not available anymore.
No, he's not. But
he's not available. If you aren't number one on those waivers this week, you didn't have a chance.
No, you did not. Another one, Andy Dalton. He's available in 3. He's only owned in 3% of fantasy leagues. And he's got a high-powered offense around him. I think he'll still have a good year. I mean, you got weapons around you.
You would think most Dak owners probably tried to jump on this one, right, immediately as soon as they seen that injury. But, yeah, 3%, I'd imagine, after this week is probably going to go up a decent amount. Andy Dalton.
Oh, yeah.
He's got a ton of weapons around him. This may be the best squad he's got to go out there with. Offensive line has been a little iffy as far as that goes, but we're going to see. Do you think Andy Dalton has what it takes to lead that team?
We'll see. I mean, he led them to the W over the Giants. I mean, it was the Giants. I get it, but
yeah,
he did enough to get by. I mean, he was thrust. He was thrown right in that position. But I mean, if he can cut down the turnovers, don't be Cincy Red Rifle, be the Dallas Red Rifle. Be something new. If you really want to rejuvenate you, to me, for Andy Dalton, and at least he could be a great buy filler. I mean, there's a lot of good quarterbacks like Russell Wilson, Justin Hubert, just to name a few that are on bye. They're 2 starters right there. There's one right there that can fill it. Better go roll with it.
That's right.
Now, Dalvin Cook is most likely going to be out this week. You better go get his backup if you hadn't got him already. If he's available, Alexander Mattinson, owned only in 37% of leagues, and he's worth a pickup. Definitely. He's going to probably be an RB1/RB2 running back this week, with Dalvin Cook probably going to sit out this week. So that's another good filler right there.
Certainly.
Henry Ruggs III. Now, he's owned in 44% of leagues, so majority of my leagues and stuff, he's already owned.
Yeah, any competitive league, he's on a squad.
He's already on a squad, but if he's not, pick him up. He's worth a start this week. Another one you just mentioned, Brandon Cooks. He's available. He's only owned in 51% of leagues, But like you said, in our leagues, he's already owned.
Yeah.
But if he's available in your league, he can probably cook for a little bit for you with
No
Watson this week. No pun intended. But that's it for the waiver wire pickups. Let's roll right into the matchups. Let's start with the SEC week 4 for the SEC. We'll start with Kentucky at Tennessee. You mentioned earlier if I worry about this game. Tennessee opens up as a 5.5-point favorite. So the pressure's on us. It's on us. I'm a little worried to a certain extent because if that defense shows up like they did against Mississippi State, we're going to have trouble. We're going to have problems, especially that secondary getting 6 interceptions. So it's all going to come down to one man, and I hate admitting it, Garantano.
How many picks do you think he throws in that game?
He needs to throw 0. He don't need to take no sacks.
If you had to bet money, and the over-under was 1.5, and you had to bet your house on it, which way would you go?
2 interceptions.
Over.
1 in the first half, 1 in the second half. But he can't do that. He cannot do that. Tennessee, but we win it close. We don't even cover the spread.
I think Tennessee can win that one.
Yeah, but I don't think they cover. Arkansas will come back home and play Ole Miss Rebels. They are a 1.5-point favorite over the Razorbacks. So, you think Lane Train gets another dub this week?
That's a real surprising line. Look, Felipe's playing decent there with Arkansas, but 1.5 points, that's it?
That's it.
I think Ole Miss beats them by double digits.
Okay, so you say Lane Train takes care of business in Fayetteville, Arkansas.
I think so.
All right, so we'll move on to the next one. Texas A&M at Mississippi State. Mississippi State is a 6.5-point underdog. So there, I said upset of the week right here. I'm going to say
upset of the week.
There's something about Leach when he plays these ranked teams.
Yeah.
He did it when he played Texas in 2007. He's done it a couple of times when he plays Oklahoma. You look in the Pac-12. He's beat a couple of ranked USC teams. He's beat a bunch of ranked Pac-12 squads, which ain't jack because Pac-12 is going to be Pac-12 no matter what. But he's always got a knack of beating ranked teams, whether he's unranked or ranked or what.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to say upset of the week. Mississippi State gets the dub.
Man, I can't go that far. After watching what Texas A&M did last week and watching what Mississippi State did last week, strictly looking at that alone.
Now, will it be a high-scoring game? I think it's going to be.
Man. I think we're definitely going to see a high-scoring game. But I think Texas A&M, again, in this one, I think Texas A&M wins by double digits.
Okay. Well, I'm going to go with
I have a hard time seeing anything else, but that's the beautiful thing about sports. It's not decided on paper. I can't wait to watch it, but both these last 2 matchups, double digits.
All right. Auburn will travel to South Carolina, and South Carolina is a 3-point dog. So what you got on that one?
South Carolina, Auburn, and you say Auburn is favored by 3 in this one.
Yes.
Auburn's burned me a little bit already. They should have burned themselves. They did burn themselves this past week, but the ref didn't allow it, right? Give me South Carolina and Muschamp against my better judgment.
So you're going to say Muschamp pulls it out this week over Malzahn and the boys down there?
I think so. I believed in Auburn at the beginning of the season. I'm no longer a believer.
Okay. So you think that fire's slowly fading away into smoke now. So I got you loud and clear.
Maybe Bo Nix turns things around and has a tremendous game right here. I don't know. We're going to see. I think that defense there with South Carolina is going to be ready for them.
All right. We'll roll with that. Probably the biggest matchup of the weekend. Georgia travels to Tuscaloosa to play Alabama. Probably the 2 top teams in the SEC as of right now. The underdog, believe it or not, is Alabama. 6 points.
If they give you points for Alabama, you take those points and you run to the bank. You take out all the money you can and you put it down there on Alabama.
All right, I agree. I think as well as Georgia has played, I would not be surprised if this be a high-scoring game. even though Nick Saban will not be on the sideline. As you know, he's got COVID. But I think Bama gets it done. W here. No way around it. Beats the
No
spread.
ifs, ands, or buts.
No fans, ends, or buts. And, of course, postponed games. LSU at Florida moved to the end of the year. And then you got Vanderbilt, Missouri also postponed as well. So that's it for the games for the SEC. For the NFL, no Thursday night game tonight. So that feels a little weird.
A little weird.
But we'll go ahead and leap right into for Sunday.
Was it supposed to be the Bills, by the way?
Do what now?
Was the Bills supposed to play tonight?
Yes. If we didn't
That's
play,
why I pushed that back.
Yeah. If we didn't play Tuesday night, they would have played the Chiefs and Bills game Thursday.
Okay.
That would have been
That
a
makes
fun
sense.
But we'll jump right into Sunday's action. Denver at New England. New England, a 9-point favorite.
New England. That's an easy one.
That's the easy one.
Locke's back. Fant's back. I don't see the Broncos having enough there to get things done because guess what? Cam Newton's back.
Cam Newton is back, and that offense
9 points is a big spread, but Denver's decimated, man. And Melvin Gordon, what did he just get a DUI or some shit? Is he gonna play?
I don't know, but
yeah, he got a DUI. I haven't read thoroughly into it, but I heard I think he was speeding, was drinking, arrested. Not a good combo.
But I think Philip Lindsay comes back this week, so they're covered at back either way. I think Philip Lindsay is very capable at back. Oh, I
think he's mediocre, man. I don't know. I'm not a believer, but no hate or anything like that. But I don't know why'd they go sign Melvin Gordon if they had a starter.
It's just John Elway though. He don't trust nobody. That's just John Elway.
He doesn't know what he's doing. I don't know.
I don't think he knows what he's doing.
Much better quarterback than he is GM for sure.
Very. Chicago Bears travel to Carolina and play the hot Panthers right now. The Panthers are 2.5-point dogs with a 44.5 over and under.
So you're saying Chicago's favored by 2.5?
No, excuse me. Carolina is the favorite by 2.5. My bad.
That makes more sense. Give me Chicago by a field goal.
All right. Nice. I like that pick.
Under.
Next one.
Never bet the under, except in this case. I think you can.
Yeah, it'd be low scoring, I think. We'll see. We'll see if Foles can pull it out of the bag this week. Detroit. Oh, God, this is going to be a stinker. Detroit Lions travel to Jacksonville, play the Jaguars. Jaguars are 3.5-point dogs, 54.5 over and under. Might be high scoring.
Could be high scoring. I think it will be high scoring. Give me the Lions. And give me the over.
All right, nice. The new Atlanta Falcons, if they play this week, will travel to Minnesota. And I did have the spread, but they took it off. So we'll just do a prediction. If they play this Sunday, Atlanta at Minnesota, who you got?
Minnesota. We saw that Minnesota can get it going offensively. Maybe they need to work on their decision-making skills a little bit. But I think this is going to be a high-scoring affair when it's played as far as that goes. I don't think we're going to see a ton of defense played in this matchup either. Take the over. It's a tough one, but I think you take the Vikings.
All right, good one there.
Now, keep this in mind, though. New head coach, interim head coach. A lot of times that team's going to be fired up to really prove what they're worth, because right now the head coach is fired and everybody on that squad and on that coaching staff fighting for their job. You got to take that into account. Still take the Vikings this week.
I say the Atlanta Falcons get the win here. I think they turn over a new leaf, and we'll see the offense actually kick off and maybe actually see Matt Ryan actually look like Matty Ice again instead of this Matty Ice, instead of cold Matt, or whatever you want to call it. I just think the Falcons get it done this week. Then we got our game. The Texans come down to Nashville and play the undefeated Titans, and we're 5.5-point favorites, Ryan. There was no over and under to my estimation that I saw, but I did get the spread on that. So what are your thoughts on that one?
Take the over, take the Titans. I never liked the Houston Texans matchup because sometimes that just turns into some sloppy ball, and sometimes our defense will do some not so typical things when it comes to who they try to cover. With that said, DeAndre Hopkins isn't there anymore. He haunted us for a good while.
A long time, yeah.
Not too worried about that Texans team, especially when you just see the way this Titans team's playing right now and the way they just played on Tuesday night. Little preparation, so much pressure, right? I think the Titans are for real. I really love what Arthur Smith's doing with the offense, and I don't think Houston has what it takes to slow us down right now. I take the Titans.
I take the Titans, but it's going to be closer than we expect because with Romeo Cornell taking over for O'Brien that's got recently fired.
Forgot about that. It was about time for that one too.
I mean, they beat the Jags. Okay, I get it. They're bad, but when you get that win to kind of get things rolling, as far as that goes, it makes you a little nervous. And plus, as the Titans, as well as they played probably the greatest ball they've played this year yet. Kind of makes you wonder if there's a letdown around the corner. But I think the Titans still find a way to get it done. Tannehill still plays great. And, Derek's going to be Derek. He's going to be the king no matter what. I think we win this game by a field goal.
You know what? I want to see Derrick Henry do the same thing to J.J. Watt.
Well, he can. He can.
Get out of here, son.
Hey, he does them curls, man.
He said he had to cut back. He said he's been doing too many curls.
No, keep going. Keep going, man.
Darrington Evans says, I can attest.
But then we'll switch over the R words. The Washington football team will play the New York Giants. So kind of another stinker game here. The Giants are 3-point favorites, 43 over and under.
I guess the Giants, maybe the over?
I'm going to say
Tough,
the Giants,
man.
too.
Tough, right? Both these teams not in a good place. You know what? I don't even know who's going to start at quarterback for Washington either. At the same time, why would I just threw a name out there. Let's go with the Washington football team. Give me the over. Not a lot of defense going to be played here. I think it's going to be sloppy all the way around, but I think there will be points scored. And 43, you're not setting the bar very high there.
No, they're not. I mean, I think Washington is steadily getting worse and worse, but the Giants are actually competing in the game. So I'm going to go say the Giants here. 3 point. Okay. I think they make the spread, and I don't even think they make the. I bet under.
Well, they haven't won a game yet, correct? The Giants.
The Giants haven't won a game yet.
Man, Saquon going down really hurt those guys. But Daniel Jones looks like he was just born to turn the football over too. He's not very secure with that football.
A lot. Probably the matchup of the week, Ryan. The Cleveland Browns played the Pittsburgh Steelers. We're going to see a lot about the Cleveland Browns, see if they're for real, man.
You're going to see a lot about the Steelers, too. They're undefeated.
So we're going to see pretty much separate the men from the boys kind of a thing.
Odell Beckham sent home sick today, I saw, too. I haven't read into that. I don't think he's tested positive for COVID, but they're being very careful. I'm a little worried as a Odell Beckham Jr. owner in fantasy, too, like what that's going to entail. But if that offense is able to come out there fully staffed and play the way that they have been playing, I think they can go in there and beat the Steelers. What do you think?
I think they can, too. It just depends, like OBJ's status, which the coach has said he did not test for COVID before he was sent home. They did another test, so tomorrow we'll find out more.
Okay.
So we'll see.
I think Myles Garrett going to be fired up too, and they better keep him off of Big Ben.
Well, they better make sure Mason Rudolph stays on the sideline too for anything else.
For the Steelers to have any success, they better make sure he stays on the sideline.
Yes. I'm going Cleveland Browns here, man. Even though the Pittsburgh Steelers are favorites, I can see this being a shootout, with the receivers, versus a average secondary in Cleveland. And then you got these studs in Cleveland. Baker's come on strong. You've got Hunt that's just filled the void since Chubb's been gone. Not to mention OBJ, Landry. You know what? Cleveland gets the dub. I'm going to call it.
Yeah, man. I guess better judgment going with the Browns here myself. But I think it will be a good matchup.
It will be a good matchup. And then the other AFC North team, the Baltimore Ravens, they'll travel and play the Philadelphia Eagles. And, Ryan, this should be a beatdown. I think, for the most
You think
part.
the Ravens are just going to beat Philly down? 8-point line, 46.5 over under. I don't know, man. They're playing in Philly. Philly, look, they've looked really bad. Miles Sanders looks good. Wentz has been up and down
Off
mostly.
and on, yeah.
Not a lot going on there as far as with his targets. It'd be a very hard game to pick against Baltimore. Now, 8 points is a lot, though, in this matchup, I think. And no disrespect to Baltimore at all, because those guys are legit contenders. This may be my odd pick of the week, where I think if you're giving me 8 points, I'm taking Philly here.
All right, very good. I think Philly puts up a fight like they did with Baltimore. With Pittsburgh they did last week. To me, I thought Pittsburgh should have blown them off the field. But they just kept hanging around.
Mm-hmm.
And to me, if it just depends where they're at the beginning of the fourth quarter. If they're touchdown down or blown out, we'll see. But if they're a touchdown down at the beginning of the fourth quarter, I think the Eagles definitely have a chance. But I'm going to stick with Baltimore here. I think they get the dub.
Okay, I'm with you.
All right, Ryan, we've got the New York Jets playing the Miami Dolphins. We should call them the Miami Beards now, man, because Ryan Fitzpatrick, man, has come in and just played absolutely stellar.
No, you're right. Ryan Fitzpatrick played great, got him the win, right? In this matchup, though, are you trusting Fitzy?
I'm going to say it. Let's trust him this week. He's got the Jets.
It's the Jets.
So, we can trust him for this week only. But then it would be my luck. I trust him, and he drops an egg, and the Jets get their first win of the season. It's very possible. Very possible. But as the Miami Dolphins, they're 8-point favorites, 45 over and under. I say do the under. Miami covers.
Okay.
I say Miami covers here.
I'm with you. I think that's an easy call. I'm just trying to make it interesting as far as with the Fitzy comments. Look, my buddy Roy, I was talking to him at the bowling alley last night. He's a big Miami Dolphins fan. He thought the biggest joke he had heard all week was that the surefire lock of the week, Dolphins over the Jets. And he's like, look, neither one of these teams great. Not much to be excited for in Miami until Tua gets in there. But look, we've had Ryan Fitzy play with us. We've seen him around the league. He's a fun guy. So at least in a rebuilding year, he provides a little spark of excitement.
He does.
And they're going to win that game. We've talked about the Jets-Dolphins probably for longer than we need to.
Yeah, exactly. So the next game, Green Bay at Tampa Bay. So there's a good game right there. Got Tom Brady versus A-Rod. Tampa Bay is a 2-point dog, 54 over and under.
Take the over, take the Packers, man. Look, whether they get their number one guy back there as far as with Adams or not, they're rolling. They're coming off a bye week. And, I think you take Aaron Rodgers over Tom Brady in the year 2020. Regardless, I expect this to be a shootout, and I hope it's a shootout. I hope it's fun.
It should be fun, and I just think for the most part, I think they'll just run the football, keep the ball away from Brady. Green Bay gets it done, plain and simple.
Agreed, man. And with a 2-point spread, you can go either way.
You can. Los Angeles Rams will play at San Francisco. So the San Francisco 49ers are a 3.5-point underdog, 50 over and under. What you got?
LA Rams. I'm surprised this is so low, especially with what we saw last week from San Francisco. San Francisco's still not a pushover. 50 points. I guess it's not really high when you look at this and the way that the Rams are going to throw the football and the way that the 49ers are going to have to throw the football in this game. So, you're not going to see me take too many unders, and that's not going to be the case in this situation either. I think you go over. I think you take the Rams. I think it's pretty easy.
All right. So, yeah, I'm with you there. I'm going to have to say the Rams here.
3.5 points. Yeah.
Yeah, why not? Next game, we have the Kansas City Chiefs traveling to Buffalo. Probably one of the other bigger matchups of the week. The Buffalo Bills come out as 3-point dogs. So I'm going to take the Chiefs here.
I'm going to take the Chiefs, too. I'd like to be cute and take the Bills after getting their butts whooped. Maybe they rebound here. I think they're going to keep whining, and I think they're going to still be whining after they lose to the Chiefs here. And a 3-point spread, look, Kansas City against Buffalo here, I think 3 points is a little bit too little right now. With that being said, Kansas City better step things up defensively because Josh Allen not going to have 2 consecutive bad games, I don't think. And
no, I think we're in for a shootout, but I think with Kansas City just so experienced with shootouts, it's no brainer at this point.
Yeah, maybe I'm way off on this, but I expect it to go the other way. I think it's going to be a little sloppier. I think and it's in Buffalo too, right? So I think it could be a low-scoring affair, a lot of running the football. Again, we may see the exact opposite. For some reason, I get that feeling with this game, though.
Right. The last game, the second Monday nighter, Arizona Cardinals go at Dallas. So Red Rifle versus Kyler Murray. So we'll see in this matchup. The Cowboys are 2.5-point dogs. Incredible.
I think with good reason. I think Arizona obviously going to come in there ready to play, and they know they're playing Andy Dalton. Look, Andy Dalton's on the big stage right here. He's got a full week of preparation to go in here and get ready for this. But ultimately, I think the loss of Dak is so significant to this offense, I don't think they can rebound, and I think they're in for a world of hurt going forward. I'm not rooting against the Red Rifle down there or the Dallas Cowboys by any means, but in this case, if I'm betting my money on it, I'm betting my money on the Arizona Cardinals.
All right, but I think it's a good pick. I'm going to say the Arizona Cardinals as well, just because of the situation with Dak, and we got Andy Dalton coming off the bench. I think it'll be a good game. It's going to be fun to watch. I think when you got Zeke and you got the receivers that you have in Dallas, but it just seems like if you're doing quarterback versus quarterback, Kyler Murray hands down. So I'm going to say the Arizona Cardinals here.
Yeah, maybe. And maybe we're surprised. We're going to find out. But you mentioned Zeke. They're going to really, you would think, rely heavily on him now going forward, too, and just ask Andy Dalton to kind of manage the team.
Well, I mean, he's got the receivers to help him to do it, though,
For sure. So,
I mean,
three top-level guys.
This is probably the best talent that, Andy Dalton's ever come into. So, I mean, we'll see. But that pretty much does it for our scores this week. Let's do some closing thoughts. Ryan, you got anything to close on, brother?
Let's see. Closing thoughts. Braves looking good. Hope they can close that series out, go on to the World Series. That would make me so happy. That's the first team that I pledge any allegiance to in my entire life. I don't know if a Braves World Series would mean more to me than a Titans ring, as a matter of fact, because the Titans don't have one. Atlanta does have one. At this point, I feel like it would be more significant, though, for Atlanta to win this one. Rooting for those guys. Also, this is our first podcast that we've used Zoom. It's going to be a surprise whether this gets uploaded or not. So I'm hoping that everything goes great with the quality and with the file, man. And I'm glad to just keep this thing rolling. And can't wait to talk sports after another weekend full of sports next week.
Absolutely. I feel like for the most part, it was good to see the Titans back after 14, 16 days and not only come out and play ball, they came out and played Titans football all 4 quarters, looked good doing it. It gives us a very good hope coming into the season, especially at quarterback. I think Tannehill's probably the best quarterbacks we've had since McNair, to be honest. I mean, look at his numbers he's doing right now. I mean, the numbers don't lie. And then, of course, you got Henry doing Henry things.
Mm-hmm.
Defense is starting to step up. And like you said, Atlanta's on the brink of going to the World Series. Locally, a lot of good things are happening in the region that we live in. So, I mean, it's a good time for sports in a world that's going crazy with COVID and the election coming up. So it's good to kind of like focus on those things, especially when it's going really, really good. And folks, that's all I've got. Ryan, you got anything else, brother?
That's it, man. Looking at those belts in the background makes me want to come over there and give you a power bomb, maybe an elbow drop. And I'm going to if you don't shoot me better trades this week too. You tried to.
Oh, come
got
on,
a little
man.
insulted with some of these fantasy trades, but I did.
Hey, it's called fillers, man. It's called filling it, man. I know you won Henry, but I think at this point, I just got to lock him up, man, at this point. I mean, I'd be a fool to trade him. He's the best player I've got on my team. It's just
you're right. When you were clamoring this past week with the COVID scares, like, look, I'm ready to trade every Titan on my team, including Derrick Henry.
Well, I mean, it got to the
number
point.
Two guy, I was like, he's trading him. But that Tuesday night performance
I did that more to just – I did that more just kind of like see where my market was, see if I can get shake a good deal. Yeah. A lot of low balling because nobody don't want to give up their best starters and stuff. It wasn't like
the hardest thing about fantasy trades is how everybody values everybody, right?
Oh, well, in my league, everybody values back as gold. You know, it's hard to come by. But, folks, follow us on Twitter. We have our Twitter up, Run and Shoot Pod 1. And Brian's got his. I've got mine at Chuck Wagon 53. What's yours, Ryan?
RC Smith 23. If you have not linked up with us, link up with us. We're going to cover everything we can as far as sports and have fun with it, man. That's what we're here for.
That's what we're here for, indeed. And we also have our YouTube page. Subscribe, like our content. And as you know, this is our first video right here. So, booyah. You know, this is awesome. I'm glad we finally got this going. This is one I've been looking forward to the most. And plus, you get to have a face to look at and say, who's that dumb idiot talking? What does he look like? Look at this pretty stuff right here. But anyways, follow our stuff on YouTube. We have our Facebook page that continues to grow every day. Our followers continue to grow each week, which is awesome. Give us a thumbs up on that. Give us a like on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube. And folks,
subscribe, unsubscribe, subscribe again. Thumbs up.
Boom. Exactly. And just keep liking our content. We're going to turn it out like Brian, if I ain't got nothing else, I'm going to close this out.
Close it out, bub.
All right, man. I am Chuck.
I'm Ryan.
And this is the Run and Shoot Podcast. Until next time, my friends, we'll check back with you later.
Peace out.
Peace.